That is awesome. Thank you guys. You're great. I'm just going to tell you, whoa, that's loud. I've had way too much coffee. I can see noises right now. So I'm going to have to slow down to come back to something. But let me do something real quick. I would not be here today and probably not even be in Dreamers and Builders without the influence of my best friend of 18 years, Jeremy Shelton. Yes, that Jeremy Shelton. He wanted to be here, but he couldn't make it, so I'm going to do a quick video selfie, and you guys say hi to him, okay? Let's do that. All right, buddy, here we are. We're on the stage at Launch Out. I got some dudes and dudettes want to say hi to you. Say hi to Jeremy. Miss you, man. See you soon. You owe me a Telecaster. Be good. Okay, well, yesterday, David and Nick made me cry. Matt made me want to hit somebody I've never met before. Jared, Rick, April, and Ryan apparently passed around my notebook and stole all of my best material and put it in their speeches. That ain't funny. I don't appreciate it none. Psalms 90:12 says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom." Today is the 12,097th day of my life, and I'm sharing it with you guys. I appreciate that. My talk today is a thumbnail of a bigger picture I've been working on a while that I call The Other 72. And there are two central themes that comprise the bigger picture. First, the years you have on earth are only worth the sum of the months, the weeks, and the days and the hours contained of them. We all have the responsibility to make our time count. The number 72 refers to the hours left in a week after working 40 hours and sleeping 8 hours a night. I know that's quite optimistic for most of us, but it is a starting point. 72 hours, or whatever your number actually is a huge amount of time to divide and use wisely. Secondly, wholeness in life is not based solely on success in any one area. Rather, all parts of your life contribute to wholeness or lack. In my opinion, no one illustrates the former any better than Robert D. Smith's 20,000 Days and Counting. If you haven't read that book, you need to read it. Or even better, listen to Robert read the book. It's like drinking a cup of coffee. I mean, the guy's exciting. He will get you energized and excited about using your time well. As for the latter, with a little help from Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller, I found Zig Ziglar's Wheel of Life that illustrates the idea of a wheel made of 7 spokes: spiritual, physical, intellectual, career, financial, social, and family. I'm exploring these themes in detail in an ebook that I'd hope to have ready by this weekend. And I'm acutely aware of the irony that a book about the intersection of time management and life goals missed a deadline. So, with those impeccable credentials in place, let's talk about how I got started on this journey. Here are 5 lessons I learned from losing my dream job. Lesson number 1, when things go bad, don't go with them. Separate fact from falling skies. On August 21st, 2013, things went bad. My boss called me into her office and told me, "We no longer have the budget to support your position. I'm sorry, but we have to let you go." Those words hit me like a punch in the gut because that was my dream job. I discovered love for all things architectural when I was 11 or 12. The idea of drawing a plan to build a building captivated me from the first time I knew such a thing existed. I eventually went back to school, graduated at the top of my class with a degree in architectural design and concentration in green building and energy efficient design. I joined all the organizations and associations I can find, and I was ready to take the design world by storm. In June of 2012, I landed a job at a brand new architecture firm. Life was good. I was doing work that fulfilled me. I was making more money than I'd ever made before. I had a real title. I put a few sets of initials to my letterhead and email signature. I was soon working a brand new office that I helped design. I had arrived. I was finally somebody. I had my dream job. Then suddenly, I didn't. The drive home was only about 40 minutes, but it felt like hours. I was mad, betrayed, and above all, scared. My mind was screaming that I'd failed as a husband, I'd failed as a father, I'd failed as a provider. I was going to have to go back to the retail world and just hope and pray I could get my old job back. That brain of thinking is crippling, and I figured out pretty quick I'd have to push back against that often. Thankfully, START had just come out, and John Acuff told us that the best antidote for fear is truth. I'd learned years ago to plan from the worst case scenario backwards. That means acknowledge what the real worst case scenario is and decide what you're going to do if that actually happens, and then back it out from there. If you can survive all that, what you're left with is the unvarnished truth of where you are and where you need to be. If you can survive that and start again, you have the genesis of a plan, and you can tell Chicken Little to chill out. In a gratuitous stroke of timing was this little shindig called the START Conference. I was quite hesitant to spend any of the money I had left on a road trip and a conference, but Jeremy talked me into it. I can honestly say that the audiobooks I listened to on the drive up and back and the conference itself changed my life. I actually got to meet quite a few of you at the conference. I know I came off as smooth, calm, collected, and devilishly handsome, but to be honest, only one of those was true. What was true was I was at the end of my rope, vocationally, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I don't even know what I was hoping to accomplish by going, but I was determined to have some kind of plan in place when I came home. I kind of feel like Ricky Bobby. I have no idea what to do with my hands here. Somewhere between Nashville and Mobile, I decided that as soon as I got back on my feet, I would never work for anyone else again. My logic was that I was never going to fire me. I was never going to lay me off. I was never going to cut my pay. Drawing from everything I had learned and all the pages of notes I had taken, I took a day to myself and started forming what I now call the Other 72. I made a list of everything I could do that made me feel alive and could possibly be monetized. That broke out into three main categories: architectural design, assembly, and music. I then took each of those and broke them out into two lists. And because I have an insatiable need to name and categorize everything, I called the list What I Know and Room to Grow. Brilliantly inspiring, feel free to take that. Now what that gave me is a list of honest goals and specific tasks that I named adjusting. You can use that too. It's actually a great exercise, and I'm probably going to do it every year from here on out. In doing that, I realized that nothing prevented me from pursuing all those categories at the same time. The flexibility offered is amazing. I quite enjoy the assembly business, and I dreamed of playing music in a band since I was about 8 years old. And for the first time in my adult life, that was not only possible, but assuming there was some level of income attached to it, it was very practical. At the end of that day, I'd moved through the sky falling down to an actual plan to put things back together, but there was still the small matter of surviving during that process. I had to find some kind of income immediately. Dave Ramsey always says that delivering pizzas is a great way to get out of debt. It'll also keep the rent paid when everything else goes south, plus free pizza. Now, while delivering pizza will keep you from starving and keep the rent paid, it is fatal to the ego. Even though I know it's only for a season, I will never forget the feeling of shame the first time I confessed to someone what my new occupation was. The uniform became a symbol to me that I was not good enough, that I wasn't smart enough, that I didn't think quick enough. I had no problem working through that on an intellectual level, but the emotional level was a little harder. One night in particular, I was washing dishes at Papa John's, soaking wet, tired, and feeling sorry for myself. I asked God out loud, what am I doing here? With my talents, my abilities, the education I am paying dearly for, why am I here? Not an audible voice, but just a word spoken into my spirit said, to be the very best delivery driver at Papa John's. That is not the answer I wanted. It really wasn't. But it wasn't a moment of startling clarity for me. God was no more impressed with my previous success than he was dismayed with my current struggle. The truth is, I had made what I did who I was. I was somebody. I was important, and I had carried the same attitude in the opposite direction when it all fell apart. Now, I'm not saying God uprooted my life just to teach me some things, but I thoroughly believe that he is teaching me through this experience. And in the big picture, 20 years from now, this is just a blip. I will have other successes. I will have other failures, and I'm going to learn from all of them. Lesson number 4, networking and community are vital. You have to start somewhere. I made the decision to start my own architectural design company. My Room to Grow list told me I needed a portfolio, website, and contacts in the related fields. Most important was a portfolio. Everything I worked on for 2 years belonged to someone else. I could not use any of it. Getting something drawn was vital. I had crossed paths with Lisa at the START conference, and I immediately caught her passion for Barnabas House, and I wanted to be a part of it. She gets a floor plan and a model. I get a sweet project for my portfolio. Winning. Barnabas House is actually the project that I show when I'm networking with other design professionals, and we have both benefited amazingly from it. That's one of my gems from START conference. Be the support you wish you had. Support others. As for the website, I started out with a GoDaddy template, made a terribly ugly web page, and shamelessly crowdsourced the dreamers and builders until I got something decent. As soon as it's practical to spend some money on a real web page, I will look no further than the dreamers and builders. I started networking with design professionals in the next county from where I lived. I found as many contacts as I could in the design, structural, civil engineering, custom home builders, and even other architectural designers, and I cold called every one of them. I explained who I was, what I was trying to do, and asked if I could sit down with coffee and talk about the business. Out of the very first round of cold calls, I was privileged to meet the gentleman who is now my mentor. Ray invited me to his house and spent 2 hours talking through some of his experiences and lessons learned. I took pages of notes. Now, this guy is talented. He's a very successful designer. He's willing to coach and mentor someone moving into his profession, essentially a competitor. That's another nugget from StartCon. Find a mentor you want to become. Lesson number 5, refine the dream. In the book, I outline in a lot more detail moving from survival to adjusting to success. And in all honesty, I have struggled greatly with defining success. I finally wrestled down what success looks like for me. Success is making a living, doing what I love, on my own terms, while constantly refining and improving my ability to do that work. I have learned that success or failure is majorly influenced by perspective and is not nearly as black and white as I would prefer it to be. If you told 14-year-old me that I was making a living doing professional assembly work, drawing houses and traveling the country playing in a band, he would be ecstatic. And that is exactly what I'm doing, although I still haven't replaced the income for my dream job. None of that was even possible when I had my dream job. So was losing that job a blessing or a curse? That depends on me. I am confident that as long as I remain committed to continual refinement and improvement, I will eventually be successful far beyond my dream job. So here it is in a nutshell, what I want to leave you with. Separate the drops of truth from the ocean of lies that fear presents you. Don't let a crappy now equal a crappy later. Accept the truth of where you are and dream of where you want to be. Figure out what you need to do and learn to get from here to there. Embrace community, support others along the way. Define and refine what your version of success looks like, and repeat as necessary. Thank y'all. God bless.